Director Comey's latest letter to the Hill. We're glad to see that that he has found, as we were confident that he would, that he has confirmed the conclusions that he really reached in July, and we're glad that this matter is resolved.
Hillary Clinton will be under investigation for a long, long time for her many crimes against our nation, our people, our democracy. She's protected by a rigged system. She shouldn't even be allowed to run for president, I'll tell you right now. She is the most corrupt person ever to seek the presidency of the United States.
Well, big news day on a Sunday, 2 days before the election, with the FBI director sending another letter to Congress, this one in which he says, since my letter, that's 10 days ago, the FBI investigative team has been working around the clock to process and review a large volume of emails obtained in connection with an unrelated criminal investigation. During that process, we reviewed all of the communications that were to or from Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State. Based on our review, we have not changed our conclusions that we expressed in July with respect to Secretary Clinton. And here is the Comey announcement from July 5th.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. In looking back at our investigations into the mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts.
With that, let's bring in our panel here in New York. Guy Benson, political editor at townhall.com. Caitlin Huey-Burns, national political reporter for Real Clear Politics. And Charles Hurt, political columnist for The Washington Times. Okay, this is another bombshell. Guy, your thoughts?
Well, it's an election week miracle that Democrats and the Hillary Clinton campaign have rediscovered their respect for James Comey and the FBI and their rectitude and definitive judgment on things. There's a couple things that I'm hearing. Some people are saying, how is it possible that the FBI could have gone through 650,000 emails in such a short period of time? But I think it's important to remember those were 650,000 total emails on that computer, most of which had nothing to do with Hillary Clinton or her server. That's a much smaller number, and a fraction of those were new. Most of them were duplicates. Now, I think that looking at the letter from Director Comey, it was probably the right thing for the FBI to try to expedite the process of resolving this issue, this stage of the investigation, prior to the election. I also think it was the right call for him to notify Congress 10 days ago that they were reopening the probe because of new evidence. The real problem from where I sit goes back to July, when he decided not to recommend charges against Hillary Clinton, despite the fact that she clearly violated the text of that statute and said that there was no criminal intent, although other people have pointed out, actually, there's quite a bit of evidence of intent.
Right, and that's the key issue. The intent, going back to July, Caitlin, is that he then couldn't get there, and even if whatever he found on Anthony Weiner's laptop, he couldn't get there still about the intent. What does this mean politically for Hillary Clinton? Does it stop the bleeding in some of these states that may have been bleeding in the polls? Well,
you know, voting has been underway in a lot of the states that both Clinton and Trump need to win. Florida, North Carolina, even Ohio. So I think you can argue that, you know, this has been the centerpiece of discussion for over 10 days now in the final stretch of the campaign. So I certainly think it's already had an impact in some ways in the polls. On the other hand, it certainly is welcome news for the Clinton campaign and kind of reconfirms the argument they were trying to make originally. But if you look at the statement that Paul Ryan released tonight, I think that's something that Republicans can seize on in the final couple of days here, which is to say that even though Comey did not recommend criminal charges, he still described her handling of classified information as careless and reckless and so forth.
Here's the specific letter, just to read it. Regardless of this decision, the undisputed finding of the FBI's investigation is that Secretary Clinton put our nation's secrets at risk, and in doing so, compromised our national security. She simply believes she's above the law and always plays by her own rules. This is a pattern with the Clintons, Paul Ryan writes, and the American people should not have to endure 4 more years of their scandal and baggage. Fortunately, the American people have the opportunity to ensure Secretary Clinton never gets her hands on classified information again. Let's bring the Clinton era to an end by voting for Donald Trump on Tuesday. By the way, that's Paul Ryan saying vote for Donald Trump on Tuesday.
Right, which is remarkable because just a few weeks ago he was saying that he's going to focus specifically on House candidates, although he's never rescinded his endorsement of Donald Trump. The Trump campaign has seized on this all week. I mean, this has been really key to their campaign and kind of had fit the narrative that they were trying to put forward, that the Clinton campaign is involved in all sorts of scandals and will continue to be once she's elected. And so I think this blunts that argument a little bit, and perhaps, I'm wondering what the effect will be down ballot for a lot of Republicans who were kind of running on this issue. I still think they can capitalize on the fact that she was under investigation in the first place, but whether this blunts any of their momentum, too, we'll wait to see.
Charlie.
And I don't think it's going to stop any of Donald Trump or any of the Republicans from hammering away at her on this. It is a fruitful issue. This letter comes out on the day that the New York Post reports that Hillary Clinton at her home in Washington, D.C. had her maid actually printing out classified documents in a secure room in her house. So, the issue is it will remain a very fruitful issue for them. The question I have about it is, for those of us who are sort of uncomfortable with the FBI director getting involved in any of this at any stage of it, people who don't like the Justice Department or the FBI specifically jimmying with political candidates this close to an election, they've really made a mess of this. I mean, they have not done anything. If he was trying to sort of send a message that the FBI is not involved, is independent of this the election, he's done the exact opposite.
Yeah, we like to see where the candidates are traveling, and today Donald Trump had campaign events in Sioux City, Iowa, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sterling Heights, Michigan, Moon Township, Pennsylvania, and Leesburg, Virginia. Mike Pence was in Panama City Beach, Florida, North Carolina, and New Hampshire. Ivanka Trump in New Hampshire as well. On the Clinton side, Hillary Clinton, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Ohio with LeBron James, Manchester, New Hampshire, Kane, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin, President Obama in Florida, Vice President Biden in Pennsylvania, Scranton and Harrisburg, and Chelsea Clinton in Pennsylvania. What does that tell you?
It's a lot of information there, and I think the bottom line is they are trying to lock down on the Democratic side, the Clinton campaign, the blue firewall. They think they've got that firewall that's holding. The public polling indicates that it is, but there appears to be some late movement, especially in places like Michigan, where Trump really needs to break through and steal at least one big state off of the chessboard from Hillary Clinton. They're playing defense in those places. Trump's playing offense because he has to.
It's going to be fascinating. Panel, thank you very much.